right, welcome back to another episode of Cyber Go to Market Girl Talk. We are on season 3, and of course, we are speaking to people who are very much at the heart of the companies when it comes to attracting talent and people as well to businesses. So, very, very excited to be joined by Anna Taylor from Semperis, who is the global talent acquisition leader. So, Anna, thank you so much for joining, by the way.
Thank you for having me. I can't believe this is season 3.
I know. I can't believe that people wanted more of my voice, but I don't. I think
Love it.
I think it's less about me and more about the value that is being brought from the guests. So I will still take it as a compliment nonetheless. But yeah, very excited to have you on and have you chatting with me today. And yeah, I guess to kick things off, why don't you tell us firstly a little bit about your remit within the business, and then of course tell us about Semperis as well.
Sure. So we have been growing really fast. I've been with the company since January of 2022, so just about 4 years now, and it's been an amazing ride. When I first joined, we had 150 employees around the world with probably about just 2 offices. And now we are at 600 globally in 18 different countries. And, we'll talk about some of that expansion today as well in our conversation. But 18 different countries, 600 employees, 5 offices at the moment, multiple in North America, throughout Canada and US, one in Israel and one in Singapore. And we are only continuing our growth. We're Series C. And Semperis focuses on protecting Active Directory and being the leader in hybrid identity protection for the cyberspace.
Awesome. Okay. Well, firstly, that is a significant amount of scale over that period, isn't it? It's that's incredible. And so you, of course, you've been there such a long time. You orchestrate all of talent acquisition, anything to do with people. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I report into our SVP of People Operations, and we have a global TA team. Right now, there are 6 recruiters on my team who've been with me for some of them for quite some time. And of course, some of them are a little bit newer as we've had to grow. But that's the team. And, we've been really tight knit and working super hard with the business to continue that growth. And it's spread across the world. So some of my recruiters are in Israel, some of them are in North America, but we all contribute globally to the growth.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for giving us the introductions, and that leads us nicely to get straight into the questions then, which again I've always got with me on my trusted phone. So let's go through them. So, firstly, let's talk about how you guys are positioning yourself as a company of choice to attract talent, especially in a world that is full of a lot of innovation and AI noise at the moment.
Yeah, I love that you're asking this to kind of open the conversation, right? Because there is a ton of AI noise. And being a tech company, we do want to be on the cutting edge of everything that you do. And especially in TA, I'm always trying to be knowledgeable and knowing what's out there with the AI tools that recruiters are using nowadays. But what I have found for my team is the best success that we're going to have is honestly if we lead with people. And so you are still always going to meet a person as the first step of an interview process here at Semperis. We might use AI to help us schedule. We might use AI to help filter through some of the resumes here and there. But for the most part, you're having a 30-minute video interview as your first conversation with a candidate and with a person, a representative of Semperis. And at our events, we also lead with people. So I'm sending not just recruiters to events, but I'm sending hiring managers to the events. You're going to get to know, we do a pro sales event, for example, for students in UT Dallas in Texas, and we send actual BDRs that are there to answer your questions, to tell you what a day in the life of working as a BDR at Semperis looks like. So I think everything that we do touches upon the people aspect, and that's really how we're positioning ourselves as the best. We're trying to show from the first second that you engage with the brand who the people are.
I love that, because there are a lot of businesses who I will say probably dehumanize the experience when you are interviewing or just generally working with them. And let's face it, we're all humans at the end of the day. We spend more time with the people that we're working with than we do sometimes our own family and friends, which, is not necessarily the best thing to say, but I think it is just the very honest truth on occasion. And so I think who you're working with, I know certainly with candidates that I speak with, they want to know about people and who they're going to be connecting with. They want to have fun, they want to have a good time, obviously work very hard, make money, but yeah, I love that you guys have got a real emphasis then on people. And that again leads very nicely into the next question. So you guys were obviously named Inc.'s list of best workplaces for 3 consecutive years, which is awesome. So I guess tell us a little bit more about the attributes as a business that you believe you have that have helped, I guess, secure this title 3 years in a row now.
I think it's really important for companies to remember that, culture comes from what all of us are willing to do. All of us as employees, whether you're a leader, you're an IC, everything that you contribute to the company, you'll get back. And I think that's also something that we put through in our interview processes with our candidates. We really want to bring on board people who are just genuinely good people that want to be connected, that want to chat. I mean, a great example too is like yesterday, my dog was doing a really funny, just looking out the window. And so I sent it to our company chat. I just said, look at my coworker. Like I need to put in an HR complaint here. He's not doing anything. And then everyone just started sending, pictures of their pets and their dog, this dog's doing this. And look at this freeloader just sleeping here, and that creates that culture and that feeling of connection in the company that I think makes people feel so passionate about what we do here. It's not HR running a happy hour or sending you some swag or something, although that's really nice, right? And important to do as well. It's about the culture that we each bring to each other and the communication that we have each day. I think that's what keeps us on these lists and getting these awards is people really genuinely want to work here and have a passion for working together and what we're doing.
That's awesome. And I think keeping a pulse on that, especially as a business has grown to the size that you guys have, it could be very easy to let that slip through the net somewhat or kind of take your eye off the ball. But it sounds like you guys keep that really very much focused. And that's obviously evident in the titles that you guys have secured as being one of the best workplaces. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I mean, I've told leadership in the past when I first started here, that that big company kind of chat that we have, I said, I was like, I don't know. I mean, we're 150 people now. It's easy to, just kind of chat with each other as 150 people. But now we're 600 and we're still, everyone still loves it and it's all over the world. And I'm seeing, people are posting their Legos that they're building with their kids or that they're doing themselves. And just the littlest things of sharing, who you are outside of work as well as during the workday, I think makes a big impact.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, that sounds like a chat I'd love to be a part of for sure. Yeah. I'm sure I'd send some good pictures. Okay, so next bit, which is going to, I'm sure, be super interesting then for people who are maybe not with Semperis, but would like to be. We're obviously heading into 2026 as we're filming this, which is scary, but there we are.
Oh my goodness.
I know, literally. What are your guys' plans with regards to hiring? So who are you going to be hiring and where?
Who are we not hiring? I mean, really, like that's the better question. So we are, as I mentioned before, now in 18 different countries. We are going to, in 2026, be expanding into India and Japan. I recently did a video about that on my LinkedIn just to kind of promote the roles. And so India and Japan, those are going to be our new markets, my new projects for next year. We've already started with the country manager searches. And then Latin America was this recent year's project. And so we're going to continue our expansion into Latin America with a few more new roles there. So those are the new regions that we're hitting from a go-to-market side of things. From a technical side of things, we're going to be really deeply digging in on US, Canada, and also Ireland, as well as Israel for technical sites. So we'll be building a new site in Dublin next year, which is super exciting for us. There will be an actual, office in place where people can work hybrid, and that'll be a really great hub for us in EMEA. So that's on the market as well. Some of those roles are already posted, and those are technical positions. So really, again, like I said, who are we not hiring? Like it's really been super exciting. We have roles posted across all sorts of positions, but mainly a lot of leadership hiring next year as we expand into these new markets.
That's really exciting. That is a lot of different parts of the globe there that you
Yeah.
guys are going to be touching. So that's really, really exciting. So anyone who is listening, who is interested, if that those are the if you're whether you're on the technical side or the go-to-market side, they should definitely be keeping an eye out on your careers page and LinkedIn, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, and we have a general interest form on our careers page as well. So, sometimes for these new markets, the best thing to do is just express your interest to startups because you never know when it's going to be time for us to enter your region. And it's really good to be on our radar.
Yeah, I agree. I like the general interest forms because, again, it kind of shows a business that's willing to try and hire based on talent. And whilst you
Yeah.
might not necessarily have something immediately, you're demonstrating, hey, we want really great people. And if you're interested in us and you've got some value that you can bring, let's think
Mhm.
about how we can make that work and when we can make that work in the future. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great that people can express interest that way too.
Yeah, a big part of our success has come from those opportunistic hires. So, sort of opportunistic in that way of like you come across a skill or a personality or, a location that you didn't think of before, but with the direction the business is going, it seems to be a fit. And so we'll make it happen. So, I really highly recommend the general interest form. I do check it periodically.
Nice, awesome. Okay, that's great to hear. And I guess tell us a little bit more then about the type of talent that typically thrives at St. Paris.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing to talk about because we are a Series C, we are 600 employees, we're growing all over the world, right? But still at the heart of it, when a salesperson, let's focus on that, right? Because this is very go to market focused, this podcast. When a seller or a sales leader, wants to come on board, we always are very honest that you still need to have that hunting drive and that hunger and that kind of DNA, of a person that really wants to come in and drive productivity. And you have to be super organized and detail oriented and be able to follow up. And it's not always just about, who but more about how are you willing to put yourself out there to see success as a salesperson. And so that's really something that we look for in our interview process in every step of the process. It's going to be, looking at the person's DNA, like can you really hang? It's a grind. The first few months at a startup and being a salesperson here, it's a lot of building. But then once you get the foundation down, sky's the limit of the success you can have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you know what? It's been a reoccurring theme. I've been speaking with so many incredible HR and talent acquisition leaders of a lot of great innovative security and AI startups, and this theme around having that hunger and that drive and that ability to, I think, be agile when you're working in a startup and go
Mhm.
after it is so incredibly important. It is a really tough grind. And I think that you have to have a very personal driver as to what makes you get up every morning and attack it. And I'm sure have a lot of rejection along the way, a lot of no's. But yeah, it's even more important when you're, especially in go to market, when you're sales, it's tough.
Yeah, it's hard. And knowing the product and the space is
Mm.
obviously going to be helpful. I do think it's tough to transition into cybersecurity. People who are coming from, other industries and wanting to, break into that kind of cybersecurity sales side of things, it is kind of a small space and people know each other and it can be tough. But if you have that right motivation and you show it in the interviews and you come across really well in those interviews, I do think it's possible to cross that boundary.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it can be very, very complex. I think if you've got the right kind of will and drive and you've got a curious mindset, you can learn technologies. The stuff that you can't teach is that curious mind and that
Yeah,
will and that drive. So if you've got that,
exactly.
then you're halfway there, if not more. So makes sense. And you touched upon it earlier, actually, about what candidates can experience kind of during an interview process with you. And I appreciate that this is going to vary depending as well on the role, but just to get more of a general consensus, what candidates expect to experience during an interview process with some parents.
Yeah, I think that it's important for people to realize that we do have a small TA team. So, like I said, 6 recruiters are on my team right now. And even if we use an external agency for support on a role, an internal recruiter is always going to be assigned to kind of lead you through it and make sure that you meet all the right people and that you really feel taken care of throughout the process. You will have that one point person the whole way through. That's been a really important thing for me. As we get bigger, I don't know if that structure is still going to be able to be maintained, right? But I know at some other companies, you have a sourcer, you have a coordinator, you have all these other steps, and you might be interacting with, 5 different members of the HR team before you even meet a leader. That doesn't happen here at Sempris. You have your one person, your dedicated kind of TA person that you would be able to build that relationship with and ask all of your questions to, and who's going to make sure that you meet all the right people so that you hopefully have success and get to the end of this process. And that's really important for me, because I think that building that relationship with the candidate from the beginning is not only how we're going to win as a company and win that top talent who expects that kind of attention, but talent will want to come, to us as well.
Yeah. I think that again is something that's super important, and you're right. I mean, as the business continues to get bigger, you have to think about how you can kind of scale that mindset where you've still got people that are that kind of touch point, but also as it gets so big, how are you going to do that? I think when I speak with a lot of candidates, some of the things that can be the most disheartening thing is when they feel it's almost like they've been thrown into the void, like they don't know where their resume has gone, they're forgotten, they don't know who they're speaking with, they don't know where they're at in the process, and it can be really tough, especially if someone is super actively looking for something. They want to know where they're at with it. So it sounds like, again, you've got a really kind of personal touch there that you've got with each individual.
We're definitely trying. I mean, are we perfect every single time? Probably not. Volume is hard and is an issue for a lot of teams right now. But I will say that we're really trying, and that's the goal and intention. And our hiring managers also have that very personal, interaction with the candidate and personal touch. All of the interviews are done on video. You're talking to, a real person back and forth. So we want the candidates to really feel like we do appreciate, not just feel like we appreciate it, but we really do. We appreciate the time you are taking to get to know our company, and for us, for allowing us to get to know you. And that's really, really important to us.
Yeah. Awesome. Obviously you guys now are at about 600 people, and you're in so many areas of the globe. How do you guys focus on promoting culture and employee engagement within this environment? It sounds like you guys like to send a lot of pictures of your pets here and there, but outside of that, what do you guys do?
Outside of the personal connection, that people just have, because even just further on that personal connection, now that you have people in every part of the globe. So, we're traveling for an event, someone's coming, I live in Arizona, someone's coming down to Arizona, they're letting me know, hey, I'm going to be there, let's grab lunch, something like that. So that's always really nice and thoughtful, that kind of personal touch. But as a company, you do need to be really intentional about your communication. So I think it's a matter of coming from the leaders, communicating what's going on, having a lot of really good cross-functional discussions, and then also coming together as a team in person whenever possible. We do believe in the in-person collaboration being super successful. We've seen it. It's important. It's true. And so even just recently, we had our, a go-to-market leadership meeting for planning for next year. Having that in person, it's so important. Turn the phones off, just kind of get in a room together and talk about what's happening and plan for next year and make those decisions. And then be able to be really intentional with your communication afterwards to the rest of the company about what the plan is and what we're going to do, that we're all on the same page. I think sometimes companies miss that. We're doing our best at it, and sometimes we could do better too. But I think there's a lot of companies that kind of miss it, that the meetings and the decisions go into kind of a void and don't trickle down appropriately because everybody's remote. It's a really complicated thing to get right.
Something you've said a few times is, are we perfect at it? No, we're not. We could always do better. And I know it might sound like a really small thing, but just hearing that gives me very positive signals that you and Semperis as a company are very much a very humble business. You understand that we want to strive to be the absolute best that we can, but we know that there's always ways that we can make improvements and we can always be better. And so just, even hearing you say that just kind of shows me that you guys are, as a business, open to always continuing to grow and open to feedback and always being better, which I think is just very impressive, because again, there are many businesses who can be quite set in their ways, and maybe they're not open to that. And you've got very super smart technical founders or really great people, and they're quite tunnel vision. So I think that's an important mindset that it seems you guys have.
It's essential. I mean, even when we started this growth journey in 2022, that was something that our CEO, Mickey Bresman, was very clear about. I want to maintain this startup mentality, and I always want to maintain our mission of being a force for good. And like what he really means by that is our product is doing good for the world, of course, right? We're trying to be good for our customers. We're doing good for the world with putting out these products, but we're also being good for each other and good for the world just from being good people. And even you can see it in our Microsoft MVPs. We have a lot of Microsoft MVPs on staff here at Cypress. I'm super lucky to be surrounded by these, like geniuses all the time, honestly. But even they are teaching each other constantly. Like at one of our recent company kickoffs, one of them put together a little breakfast for all the people that want to be Microsoft MVPs so that they can learn how do I, achieve that kind of designation one day. And then the Microsoft MVPs are teaching each other things because they each have different specialties, right? So that is something that's really important to us culturally here. Nobody is ever no egos are allowed, right?
Yeah.
And nobody should ever feel like they're the smartest person in the room and the only person allowed to make a decision. And everything is a discussion. All things are possible to be a discussion, and everyone has good ideas. And I think that's been what keeps people coming back and so passionate about the company.
I love that cross-functional teaching and learning that you have going on, because I actually think that sometimes you learn more than one would typically expect from, whether it's a peer or someone who is, I guess, quote unquote, technically, let's say, maybe I don't want to use the term below you, but perhaps in rank,
just a different, maybe they're in a more junior stage of their life and career. Yeah.
Exactly. But the point is that you can learn from everyone. It's not just always from above as well. So I love that. And obviously, again, we've touched a little bit on some of the new markets that you guys are going to be expanding into. But are there any other exciting plans or news that's coming up that might be interesting for candidates to know about at all, that you're allowed to share?
That I'm allowed to share? I don't know. I mean, definitely keep an eye on the website, because we will have, some new exciting product announcements that come out. We had one, earlier this past year with Ready One, which was launched in, I think it was in May or June, whenever RSA was. We launched it at RSA. But definitely just expanding on the product line, continuing to grow. And then in terms of the go-to-market roles, I do think one of the most exciting things is that we are going to start to have more sort of layers of leadership and leadership roles come up. And, it is pretty common that I've gotten messages on LinkedIn or otherwise of interest from people who are more of that leadership level, but we've never really been quite large enough of a company to have so many leaders, right? It's always been sort of a pretty flat organization. But as we scale, it's time, for that next level of growth. So leadership roles will be posted pretty soon. And maybe that's, something exciting for people that have been watching us, that maybe they have a chance for that growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure there are definitely some people out there who are, senior leaders in their space that maybe have looked at you guys and thought very fondly and want interest, but like you said, haven't been at the right level of scale. And now is their time. So anyone listening, keep an eye out on things to come. And then I guess lastly, what tips maybe have you got then for any candidates that are looking to lead a successful career in the startup world? Particularly, there are many candidates that I certainly speak with, I'm sure you do too, who maybe think they want to be in a startup, they've never experienced it, don't really know what it's like. What tips would you share from your experience?
I have a few. I think one of my most important tips is not to get hung up on titles. Something that people don't really recognize when you come from like a Microsoft or a Google or something larger, where they have these very, very delineated titles and silos and groups, is that you're probably not going to have the same title here at a startup, right? And sometimes the title also might not even fit exactly what you're technically doing every day, because every day the needs of the startup will change. I mean, when I entered the company in January of 2022, I had, myself and one other recruiter. And then suddenly in May, we got our Series C fundraise, and it was like, let's build a team. And now it's like this whole bigger thing than I even thought I signed up for, right? And that's what happens when you enter a startup. You have to be ready for anything. ready to pivot. And so don't get hung up on the title. Don't get hung up on, the job description. That's part of the fun of the ride of working at startups is, being willing to wear a lot of hats and see where your strengths and talents are going to just fly.
Yeah.
And then my other tip would be, as much as it's important to not look at the titles that translate from these other companies, the compensation packages when you're in startups can also be really different. So, equity or options is a super different thing to look at than stock. Yes, like stock is can be cash, getting from an Amazon, a Microsoft or something that is cash. And then options is the potential for cash. So
Yeah.
people need to be really ready for it. If you're going to go from a public company to a private startup company, be prepared for what the compensation package will look like at the end. Don't get through the whole interview process and then all of a sudden at the end you're like, hold on, maybe I'm not made for this because you really like the numbers on your paycheck from the public company, right? I think like a little bit crass to talk about salary for some people, but it's a really important thing to think about. And my last one again would just be, again, stay flexible. If you stay flexible and you find the right company and the right group of people, so like the right product and the right group of people that you truly believe in, how I truly believe that our leadership is going to do whatever it takes and do the right things to make our company successful, then you've found yourself at the right startup. Not everyone is going to be perfect. So just be really intentional with your search and ask questions and do your due diligence before you just jump at the opportunity to join a startup. Really try to understand what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. I think that a lot of candidates that I speak with, I know the ones that have a lot of questions, are super interested in the technology, will try and have a demo of it if possible. They'll be out there asking their channel relationships about the company. Like those are the ones where it's like, right, you're asking the right questions there, and exactly doing your due diligence properly. The piece around the comp, again, I think that's so important. So many people don't necessarily like to talk about it up front, right? But you just save yourself so much time. Like when you really dig into it from the get-go, like everything seems fine when it's hypothetical. Like, oh yeah, no, of course that would work. That would be. But then you start the calculations when an offer comes through, and you're like, actually, I didn't realize X, Y, Z. I didn't realize that. I've not factored in that, and it's like, think about it up front.
Yeah, ask about the benefits. We have an amazing benefits package here at Sempris, right? A lot of startups can't afford to give amazing benefits for you and your family. Ask about the benefits. Do they do a 401k match? What does the options package look like? What's the vesting schedule? I do think that sometimes people get so excited and romanticize this idea about working in a startup. But the reality is you're going to have a contract in front of you in black and white ink, and you need to decide, do you agree to it or not? And so just having the conversations the whole way through, that's something my recruiting team is really trying to be very firm about too. Like we start that conversation early and we have it often, and we make sure that we're always on the same page as the candidate. So I think, it's a really exciting thing. I can't imagine myself not working in startups. That's been my whole career, is always these very small companies. But, the transition from big company to startup is pretty big.
Yeah. I feel like you can be a really not so much of a small cog in a big wheel, but someone who can really make an impact, and you can get access to people and projects and things that you might not necessarily always get in such a large company. Exactly. So yeah, it's super exciting. I think anyone who's got a very entrepreneurial mindset and really wants to take ownership and take charge and be a driving force behind their own career, then a startup is a really great kind of foundation to be able to help push that along.
Yeah, I think it's a really awesome place to test your skills. Something for salespeople too is we love to see the GTM, kind of the seller profile where you have worked at a startup successfully before. But if you've only done it once, it's interesting to go to the next startup and see, can you do it again? What was I just lucky? Was this just a really good startup and it kind of worked out well and I did all the right things? Or can I do this again? Is this a repeatable kind of process that I've created and skill that I've built for myself? And then some of these sellers that we're interviewing, and you probably see it too, Elle, some of these sellers we interview, then they sort of tout themselves as those, startup builders. And now that's their thing. And that's what they love to do. And they're always just
Yeah.
looking for the next greenfield position.
Yeah. No, that's right. I guess with that, do you guys then are you open to, if someone maybe hasn't yet done a startup, but they've shown the right kind of like grit and gumption, where you feel throughout the interview process that they can absolutely take it on, or is there still a very strong preference to only have startup
Yeah,
experience?
I think having a mix of small company and big company on your resume is always really positive because it just shows how you can kind of be a chameleon in a way and deal with lots of different environments. It is hard to go from, a brand where you walk into the room and everyone recognizes the logo on your backpack to
Yeah.
a fresh startup and have a completely white space account list, right? But if you can present that you have kind of a science behind how you sell and that it is this repeatable, scalable process, then you should be able to be a successful salesperson anywhere you go, right?
Yeah.
Just not everybody has that. Sometimes people rest on the relationships or, oh, I know this person, I know that person. Right. But what if you don't know them? Then what do you do?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got to be consistent and driven, and be able to go after it yourself, especially when it's like you
Yeah.
said, it's a not a known name. It makes it harder. There's not always the infrastructure in place there. There's not the logo that you can kind of rest upon. Like
Yeah.
it's hard. Yeah.
It's possible. I've totally seen it, right? People go from HPE. The other time that I've seen it is people that started in a startup, got acquired, and then maybe they
Mhm.
ended up in like an IBM or something for a really long time and many years, and then they wanted to go back to the startup. I see those people be really successful too. So, even if you just gotten a little bit of a taste of it and then you got acquired into the larger company, you still might have that drive.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining, Anna. It's been incredible to speak with you, and I've no doubt that anyone that's listening to this is going to be really excited by Paris. I'm sure they already are already, but this just gives them a little bit of tidbits and really shows them, one of 600 people of the type of
Yeah.
people that they can expect to be connecting with.
Thank you for having me. And I just want to say before we kind of sign off, I'm so glad and happy that this podcast exists because I do think that there's that necessity and that place. We have WeSys, we have all sorts of other, women in tech kind of organizations. I love that CRN does Women of the Channel every year. And I just think it's so nice that you have this Girl Talk podcast to kind of elevate the women in cyber.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. That for me is the most important thing. So I'm really honoured that you have been a part of it. Thank you so much again.